Well, good evening, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very happy new year. And here we are, January the 1st, and we've made it through 2020. And my God, what a year it has been. I think that at this time last year, not a person on this planet could have foreseen or imagined the things that have taken place in this last year. Who could have foreseen the lockdowns? Who could have foreseen the implementation of the Great Reset, using this situation, this outbreak as an opportunity to basically force change on the world in such staggering proportions that I think that by the time they're done, for us this world will be unrecognizable. Now fortunately I don't think the plan is going to roll out as expected, but I think that like I say, this was implemented in 2020. The whole idea of locking people down was to, I believe, force control on people, to get used to people being controlled, to wearing masks. None of the studies or indications that I've seen show that any of these things work, and really only act as a detriment to society. And if it is a novel outbreak, well, then it is going to run its path through the world the way things do, and there's just no stopping it. You may slow it a little bit, but there is absolutely no stopping it. And there comes a point where you have to make the difficult decision as to whether to allow this to burn through the society or to destroy your economy. And as I say, really, you know, we have a situation here where there is a 99.5% recovery rate, and of the 0.5% that will have a serious issue, 80% of those are in long-term care facilities. So really, I think a lot of this doesn't make sense. As a businessman who's basically had, well, my business has been torn apart, and I don't know whether it will ever recover again from this situation, but I have been reading very closely the regulations. I've been reading very closely the charts and the studies to appraise myself of the situation. I go to the World Health Organization and the CDC websites, and I find that they are actually the best ones to go to, because they do have actually incredibly in-depth studies on this kind of stuff, and but they completely contradict what they're saying publicly, which sort of gives you an idea that there is a lot more going on here than just an outbreak. And when I show you this chart, now this is the influenza-like illness chart. It's from the CDC's website, and you can clearly see that this year there is no flu season. The flus come under influenza-like illnesses, and because it's outpatients, it's a completely voluntary situation. So this is probably your most accurate chart of what is really going on. It's done year after year, so you can see quite clearly the differences between years, and you can see this year that there is no regular flu, and the reason is because all of the regular flus have been assigned to CV. People are testing positive because all flus are a variety of coronavirus. Okay, so of course you're going to pick up traces of CV when you do a test. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. This is such a waste of time, and I will guarantee you that if you were to zoom in and do any one of these years that you can see on this chart, you would see an absolutely horror show of misery and sadness, and just horrifying individual stories of despair of people who died of influenza and influenza-like illnesses. They've just, you know, this is not uncommon. This happens every single year, and everybody who has a secondary condition every year puts themselves at risk of a serious run-in with the flu, merely because they have an underlying condition. So to gaslight the public on this level this year has been absolutely staggering, and I also cannot believe the number of people who don't do independent research, who've never bothered to look away from the television set and this guy in a suit on a news channel with an alphabet name, is telling you something. This is they don't even bother to check the science behind it. They just accept it as carte blanche fact. And I can assure you that those facts are cherry-picked or deliberately inaccurate. Now, I could go over reams and reams and reams of proofs that I have found, the contradictions that have taken place over the last year, and that tells me that there is a great big rat stinking in the middle of all of this, and I think that big rat is the Great Reset. Now, why I think the Great Reset will fail, and of course this is what we're going to see, these are my predictions for going into 2021, is that they're going to push ahead with this idea. Okay, these people, these globalists, it's like a bank robbery that is now in progress. Okay, and that's why things are becoming more and more severe as we go along. And I believe this lockdown that we're in right now will be extended because they need us in abeyance whilst this plan is rolled out. And I think they know it is so unpalatable and it will be so unpalatable to just about everybody, that they have to make life absolutely more miserable. So maybe it'll seem a more acceptable option to get out of the situation that you're in. But you can see that this is deliberate because we have a store in my village here that sells shoes. It's actually quite a famous store, and they're in lockdown right now. In the same province, just 50 miles away from here, 40 miles away from here in Peterborough, there is a Walmart that is wide open and selling shoes. So the unfairness of it tells you that there is something else going on, and you wouldn't do that. Okay, if this was really about an outbreak, you wouldn't do that kind of stuff. It would be only essential things that would be open, and everything else would be cordoned off. Not because it's more chance of catching, a virus in the shoe aisle than it is in the food aisle. It's just the unfairness of the whole thing. You cannot lock down one and allow another one to take that business. They're going to steal business from the store that's locked down because they can't access their customers. Okay, but why this will fail? We have built a system in our society that is very compartmentalized, but yet each of those compartments is absolutely dependent on the integrity of the compartment next to it. Okay, so as in with any house of cards, you could even pull out a card on the outer edge of that house of cards and it may knock the whole house of cards down. You pull out 2 or 3 and the house of cards is for sure going to come down. And what these people are trying to do is to re-engineer our society. And unfortunately we are so interconnected now, you cannot even pull out one card without the whole thing coming apart. So right now they're pulling apart the social cohesion card. The next card, I believe, which is coming up next year, this is one of my predictions, will be the financial card, because the vast majority now of baby boomers are hitting retirement age and they're starting to draw down on those pensions, these derivatives, these pension funds, this kind of stuff that get invested in, and now they're being drawn down on. And that can't happen, you see, because the elites don't like to lose any money, not even a little bit of money, and so they are going to pull the rug out from under all of these pension plans, and of course it just throws now the entire public on the back foot. Okay, I believe that all of OMAs and this kind of stuff, the teachers' pensions, they're just going to fall apart, and then you add into that inflation on top of that. My God, it is going to be a difficult 2021, and you can see by the picture that I found from my front piece there, basically gives you an idea of what I think is going to happen. And I think it would just be more of the same of what has been happening in 2020. That was basically just the opening warm-up. But as I say, the globalists now are like the robbers in the bank. They have to go full ahead, full steam ahead. They cannot pull back now. This is not the time for weak knees. The cat is out of the bag, and now everyone is starting to see the kind of austerity or the mistaken directions Anyone with an IQ above room temperature can figure this out. Who's going to pay for all of this debt, all of this money that's been created? Where is that all going to come from? Where are all these businesses going to recover from? Where are all the unemployed people who work for these businesses? What about all the buildings? What about the premises? Who's going to deal with that? Who's going to make up for that? So this plan is so flawed, it's unbelievable. We're going to have to go through this rocky piece until we actually, discover that for ourselves. And once we have, I am actually extremely optimistic for the future. I think we really are going into three-dimensional thought. We really have been stuck in a two-dimensional paradigm for the last 2,000 years or so, and we keep trying to solve all of the problems with the same solution, and that's either beat it up, shut it down, knock it out, and make it go away. Well, we just can't do that anymore. And so now what this situation has done, what this outbreak has done, it has shone a spotlight on the weakness of our political leaders, of our senior civil servants, and the system that we have built, because it's opened up every crack that you can think of, whether it's long-term care facilities, hospital facilities, or just-in-time servicing. Every single one has shown not to work, and these are the people who figured out this stuff. They're the ones who are bringing the Great Reset to you. I mean, surely you can see right there that that's your best indication that it's probably not going to work out very well. Okay, now I love technology. I think there are some incredible benefits for technology, and not everything that we do in technology needs to be security based, for spying on people, or weaponized to used in warfare. I mean, and I would seriously ask, all of you out there in the virtual world, what benefit do we get from going to war? There is no reward for me to leave my home and my granddaughter and my children and go and fight overseas for some, ideology that's completely left wanting. And why are we using that to solve all of our problems? So it's not us, it's not the general public who are doing this. We're not starting the wars, it's our leaders. And that is going to become outdated. And you're going to see, I think, a real shift away from that as we move into 2021. And this, call it what you will, I believe is the effect of Aquarius. Now we're now fully in Aquarius, and that frequency is now affecting our planet. And that frequency is going to make us want to become individuals within a large worldwide community. And that's what you're going to start seeing. I believe that you're going to start seeing people take personal responsibility for themselves, and also responsibility for the rest of the world. And I think we're going to have to move away from this double standard, where a corporation can, on the one hand, try and pretend to be environmental, whilst on the other hand, investing in a system overall that degrades the environment. That just cannot continue. And this is not a call for socialism or capitalism. It is a call for common sense to be played out here. And we cannot do this if we belong to a particular group that is going to oppose another particular group. We have to come together at this problem as a collective group of individuals who want to solve some of the problems around us. And we will get together in ways which best formed to solve those problems. And once the problems are solved, we will break up and move off in different directions. But it's going to be a lot more open sourced networking that's taking place here, based on personal responsibility. I think another prediction I'm going to make for 2021 is going to be the minimalistic way forward. I think you're going to see people embarrassed by luxury, because we're actually going to see so much hardship around us in the next several months that it will be an embarrassment to walk around with anything that looks like it is ostentatious or just conspicuous consumption. Okay. Now, as a good person said just recently, I thought this was a wonderful saying, the path to wisdom is often found through wreckage. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through the wreckage of the system that was once in place, and we're going to march towards, or walk towards, the wisdom of how we're going to rebuild this world to move forward for the next 2,000 years. Because clearly, you know, whether this is the Great Reset or not, there clearly was things that had to change. They were just not working. They were continuing forward on their own momentum, but not on common sense. And, you know, you cannot have a situation where our leaders, our corporate leaders, our political leaders, our civil servant leaders are trying to juggle personal greed and hubris with public well-being. Okay, it's one or the other. You cannot do both, and that's why I think so much of what we've seen in the last 50 years has been an absolutely abysmal failure. I mean, just take a look around you. In our municipality, they can't even fix potholes, for goodness sake. You know, and these are the people who are going to fix the world. Give me a break. So I would suggest that you prepare for 3 to 6 months of instability, as the government realizes that it has no answers for the problems that are about to confront us. I would strongly suggest, although this is not financial advice, that you get some kind of hard currency, because I do believe that the financial system, these people do not want to lose money. Okay, so this debt presents an awful lot of liability. There is no assets left in this world. There is just debt applied to those assets. Okay, so they're going to pull out of this. They've got their money. They've converted it into whatever hard currency they're going to convert it into, and now they are going to pull out, and that's going to be, I believe, in 2021. So you should probably try thinking about some kind of hard asset like silver, gold, or Bitcoin, land, and whatever you choose, but it's got to be a hard asset, something that will survive an inflationary impact. Okay, because that is the probable outcome of what's been happening, all the money printing, all the benefits that have been handed out, that's been injected directly into the economy. Okay, so I would certainly do that to prepare. I'd have some food on hand, I'd have some water on hand, I'd have some method of heating your home that doesn't require hydro, because I think there could be interruptions to the energy system. The price of goods is going to go through the roof. There has been such weather disruptions around the world in 2020 that our strategic reserves of food are now dwindling quite seriously. China is devastated by the floods that they had in this rainy season, and they are buying any and all food reserves at any price. And that necessarily is going to force our food costs to go up. So not only are you going to have an inflationary financial event, you're going to have an inflationary food event on top of that. Okay, so you want to get some seeds together, you want to be able to grow at least a little of your own food, and you know, you want to have some friends, I think, who are on board with this situation, because as I say, these people, whether it starts failing, I mean, you imagine when you're robbing a bank, when you're in the bank, it doesn't matter, even if you hear the sirens on the way, you've got to follow through. You have to follow through with the plan, because you've got nothing to lose now. This is a one-shot deal. The Great Reset cannot be reset again after this has happened, all this has happened. So you can see by the magnitude, this is a worldwide phenomena. So yes, this has to follow through. So they have to push forward with their plan, and the next part of their plan will be the financial reset. Okay, so look out, and we will be going on to some kind of government-controlled digital currency that is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin will remain independent, and it is the strongest of strong, hard currencies right now. So those basically are my very limited predictions for 2021. More of the same coming up. I think that we're going to be thrown on our ear. I think people are going to be more confused by misleading information and contradictory information. And I think that people are going to be shocked at the depth of the damage that was caused in 2020, which we didn't really feel. It was masked by, again, the momentum of the situation. People had money in the bank, people received benefits, so there was things to help basically smooth out. But 2021, I think you're going to see that come to an end, and I think you're going to see the full effects of what happened in 2020 start to unfold, and that those fingers are going to start to reach into everybody's pockets. So all of you people who thought that you've been untouched, people who are retired, who have a pension coming in, whether it be private or a company pension, who have been really, untouched by this in very many ways, your turn is next. Your turn is coming. So please don't rest on your laurels. I would suggest that you actually do something about this, because this is a steamroller coming, and this steamroller doesn't care whether you are black, white, green, blue, old, young, crippled or well. It doesn't matter. It is going to steamroller you, and unless you have the foresight to get out of the way before it comes, then you are going to be in serious trouble, because like I say, there's no stopping it at this point. So I hate to be doom and gloomy, but as I say, once we go through this, like I say, it is bound to fail, because this has never been done before. Europe is failing. Europe was the first rollout of this kind of globalistic, technocratic world, and it's failed miserably. And I have a pen pal in Germany who keeps me appraised of what's going on over in Europe, and the people without jobs is rising. Those who have jobs are not earning enough money to keep pace with inflation. There are riots on the street, there are protests on the street throughout Europe. France, Germany, Austria, Spain, we're not hearing any of this. Italy. But these are happening throughout Europe. There is a lot of discontent on the street, and the politicians are losing control of the people, because social cohesion is falling apart. There are so many things. Like I say, this is a house of cards, and you can't gerrymander just certain portions of that house of cards. If you dislodge any of those cards, the whole thing comes tumbling down. And so here we are. Please shore yourself up, get yourself mentally prepared. I think this is going to be a mental exercise as much as anything, to keep your spirits up. I know certainly throughout this year I found out who my real friends are, and I've actually begun to really seriously wonder, why I associated with the people who've turned out to be, soft-shelled and spineless, who've not seen through the contradictions, who sat there glued, to CNN or MSNBC or CBC or something like that, and have been fed the absolute diarrhea of information that has basically contradicted. And if you can't tell, if you have no critical thinking left, well, I'm sorry. Time for warnings are over. It's on. Game is on right now. And you better have something set aside, because I think we could be in for a pretty rough first 6 months of 2021. But like I say, after that, I think once people come to the realization that things have seriously changed, I think we're going to start looking at each other a little differently. And hopefully that will be with a cooperative eye rather than a non-cooperative eye. So I am hoping for that. Aquarius does call for cooperation. It calls for community, people coming together, unity, this kind of stuff. So yes, I am very, very hopeful that once we get through this, we will have a much brighter future ahead. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening and a super 2021, and we'll talk very, very shortly. Okay, see you now. Take care. Bye.